Welcome back to the Daily Rundown. After yesterday's breakout energy sent SPY and the Nasdaq to new highs, today's pullback had the indices trimming gains with SPY off 0.14% and DIA slipping below key support. But that retail sales beat at 0.6% might just keep the bulls in the hunt.
Yeah, definitely seeing some mixed signals out there.
For sure. Energy popping 1.68% while utilities tanked, and setups like Kratos Defense's bull flag firing off big volume. You're tuned into the Stock Market Summary Series, and we're going to get into what we're seeing in the charts. But before we do, just remember, none of this is buying or selling advice. It's just market commentary and trading education.
That's right, just our take on the action.
And if you're liking these videos, do us a solid and give us a like. We'd really appreciate it. All right, with that said, let's get into it. So today felt like a bit of a breather, maybe a tug of war after yesterday's big push, didn't it?
It really did. You saw that modest pullback pretty much across the major indices.
Yeah, SPY down 0.14%, QQQ, just a small loss there. IWM slipped about 0.45%, kind of hovering near its 20-day moving average.
Right, but the one that really stands out, technically speaking, is the DIA.
Absolutely, down 0.28%, and crucially, closing below that rising support trend line we highlighted last week. That's notable.
It really is. Now, even with that, SPY and QQQ did manage to hit new all-time intraday highs earlier in the session.
True. So the bulls haven't, completely thrown in the towel yet. There's still some underlying bid, it seems.
Yeah, but focusing on that DIA breach, it's more than just the percentage drop. The implication is what matters here.
Explain that a bit. What are you seeing there?
Well, if it fails to get back above that trend line pretty quickly, it could signal, some actual downside exploration. We might see institutions rethinking things a bit, not just taking profits.
So it forces the question. Is this just a healthy pause, some consolidation, or is it maybe a little crack appearing in the market structure?
Exactly. That's the critical distinction we need to watch for in the coming days.
Okay, so despite that caution on the Dow, there were places where conviction definitely showed up.
Yeah.
Kratos Defense, KTOS.
Oh, yeah. Huge move.
Just an explosive bull flag breakout. And look at the volume on that. A real standout today.
And that volume is key, right? It suggests there's real institutional buying behind it, not just retail chasing.
And speaking of setups, Intel INTC, which we kind of flagged last week, is looking interesting.
It was perking up.
It continued higher today. Looks like it might be building its own bull flag pattern now.
Potentially, yeah. Another one consolidating nicely is Phillips 66, PSX. That's in a tight range, looks like either a bull flag or maybe an ascending triangle.
Right. Watching that one closely for a possible breakout.
Spotting these kinds of high probability setups, knowing your entry point, and maybe most importantly, managing your risk effectively. That's the core of consistent trading.
Definitely. Discipline is key.
It absolutely is. And refining that technique, especially getting risk management right, is actually a huge focus in the Grok Trade Mentorship program we run. Practical application is everything.
Good point. And sector-wise, it was kind of a split decision today, wasn't it?
Very much so. Utilities, XLU, they really got hit, down 1.82%, led the way down.
But energy, XLE, completely bucked that trend, popped up a solid 1.68%. Quite the divergence.
Interesting rotation there.
All right, let's shift gears a bit from the charts to the wider economy. We got the August retail sales data today.
Right, and that came in pretty strong.
Yeah, 0.6% month over month, beat the forecasts, and it was higher than last month's 0.5% too.
So what this points to largely is that the consumer is still pretty resilient. We sort of anticipated this, even with sentiment dipping a bit previously. It adds a kind of bullish undercurrent.
Okay, so resilient consumer, that sounds good, but couldn't strong spending also, keep inflation sticky, maybe push back against those Fed cut hopes the market seems to want?
That's a really sharp point. It's always a balancing act. Strong demand can fuel inflation. For now, though, the market seems to be interpreting this as a positive sign of economic health, rather than an immediate inflation alarm bell.
Interesting dynamic. It suggests the economy's got some underlying strength, which could, as you said, temper some of that easing speculation.
Precisely. It complicates the Fed narrative a little bit.
And that economic picture ripples out. Look at crypto. Bitcoin had a decent day.
Yeah, up about 1.31%. Got a nice bounce right off its 50-day moving average.
Holding that key level.
Huh.
And Ethereum's looking pretty constructive too, wouldn't you say? Consolidating in what looks like a bull flag.
It does look bullish, yeah. Setting up for potential upside. But, with crypto, always got to remember things can move incredibly fast, both ways. So caution is still warranted, even with bullish patterns.
Wise words.
Yeah.
And quickly on metals.
Right. Gold, GLD, it ticked up slightly, 0.2%, making new swing highs there. Continues its run.
Okay.
Silver SLV, though, it actually closed a bit weak, down 0.41% after pushing higher earlier in the day, sort of following those patterns we've been tracking since last week. Still something to watch.
Gotcha. Okay, team, as always, guys, if you've got a stock you're watching or a question about the markets, drop it in the comments. We might cover it in an upcoming episode.
Yeah, we love seeing what you're looking at.
And by the way, if you're enjoying this video and appreciate these market summaries, do us a big favor and hit that like button. It's totally free and helps us out in a big way. And click subscribe, too, so you don't miss a beat. You can always subscribe later.
You know, seeing moves like KTOS today, that explosive breakout, or INTC potentially setting up, PSX consolidating, it just highlights why having a repeatable process is so critical.
Absolutely. You need a framework.
Exactly. And that's precisely what the Grok Trade mentorship program provides. It's about giving you the tools, the hands-on coaching to spot these setups, manage that risk effectively, and just trade with more confidence. And we stand by it, we support you until you recoup that investment.
That's great. So, wrapping things up for today, markets took a step back after yesterday's run. Some technical levels definitely in focus, especially on the Dow.
Bit of chop.
But that strong retail sales number, it keeps that idea of a resilient consumer very much alive.
It does. So the question for you all watching is, what's your take? Does this setup mean more sideways grinding for the indices, or are we potentially looking at a deeper pullback after this week's action?
Yeah, let us know your thoughts below.
Definitely curious to hear.
All right, everyone, wish you a great rest of the day, and we'll catch you in tomorrow's market summary.